Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hi there, it's your vagina speaking. I know sometimes I have a hard time hitting there when we get down, but OMG Cream from Wisp is here to help. The instant arousal makes it easier to, shh. It takes 2 minutes to order online, so let's give it a try. OMG. I literally just went to heaven. I'm gonna try that again. Go tell your friends though, get on Wisp. Order OMG Cream online at hellowisp.com. That's hello, WISP.com, and have it delivered for free. Use code OMG for 15% off your first order.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
What is that? Is that a butterfly?
Yeah, it's a butterfly.
You're so classy.
I know.
I got dollar signs like a real hoe.
No, but you're manifesting with those.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm your host, Daniela Taplin Lundberg, and I'm here with my right hand, Vanessa Mundal. Vanessa, how excited are we for today's remixed episode?
I'm so excited. I mean, we're talking about ANORA post-Oscars, and it's, just one Best Picture. It's swept with, I think, 4 awards.
I think 5. I think I read it was 5. With 4 going to Sean Baker, which is, I think, unprecedented. I don't think anyone's ever won 4 Oscars in one night. Insane.
And it's so deserving. I mean, we talked about this off the podcast before, but I think it's just such a good thing for independent film that a movie like this is being recognized on this kind of a platform. It's just, I was such a big fan of the movie, and I'm so happy it won.
I think it was on the 3rd time he got up there that he said that he was making a plug for people going back into the theaters and watching movies and the collective experience and how, it's so important for community. And I was like, yes, go, yes.
All we want to hear.
And then, of course, Alex Coco, our guest, got up to receive the award. And I was just like, we knew that guy when. That guy had no idea he was going to be up in front of millions of people, like accepting the Oscar. So cool. So let's dive back in and hear how this great movie got made.
Let's do it.
So Alex Coco, I'm so excited to be talking to you about my new favorite movie, ANORA. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a ride. I mean, the movie hasn't even come out yet. And by the way, loyal listeners, it will be coming out when this airs, but at the moment it hasn't come out yet. So Alex, you obviously have like a very long, great relationship with Sean Baker. I'm so excited to sort of dive in, but let's just focus on ANORA, which is such a work of art and just so much fun and, has like a little bit of a Wizard of Oz vibe to it, which I really want to get into with you just thematically. But I want you to start with your first memory of this particular project, because I know you've worked with Sean before on many of his films.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with Sean for a while now. I started working with him when I was just leaving film school.
Where'd you go to film school?
At USC.
Oh, cool. Are you a California guy?
No, I'm from Connecticut originally.
Stop. Where?
New Canaan.
No, you're not. Dude, I live in Westport.
Oh my God.
I go to dance class in New Canaan.
There are so many Westport people. It's crazy. I don't know why in this industry. I never thought that was a thing, but very recently I've met like 5 people. You're like the 5th now in like the span of 2 months.
God. So where'd you go to high school?
I went to New Canaan High School.
Amazing. Connecticut boy, has dreams of making movies. Okay, fantastic. Then what?
Graduated, and then, I was working with Sean while I was still in school. It was for grad school. I was in the grad program there. And then I started working for him as his assistant. Then when I worked on Florida Project, right when I graduated, I basically...
That was the first thing you worked on with Sean, Florida Project?
Yes. I've been working with him a little bit before that. He did a fashion film before that I worked on. It was called Snowbird. It was with Kenzo. And so we did that. And then I was just doing odds and ends for him, running, just trying to manage his library, running spinning drives, like updating files, like, on the streaming services when that needed to happen. And so just doing a lot of technical work for the most part. He just needed somebody, like an extra pair of hands, who had like a similar skill set. And, I was worked with, mini DV tapes and high 8 tapes when I was a kid and when I was in high school, and before that, making movies. And his early films were made that way. His first, not first, but his like second and third. So I was very familiar with all those technologies and, ingesting footage and doing all that stuff. So there was a lot of overlap in terms of like, I'm obviously was, way less skilled than him, but I at least was familiar with all the things that.
So you were just kind of like a movie geek who like was familiar with all the like different various mediums and stuff.
Yeah. I was making stuff for so long. So I was, and for a while. So it was just, I just was familiar with a lot of the things that he, needed help on. So it was kind of like an overall just sort of, wear a lot of hats, like well-rounded filmmaker, I guess, is kind of the people that Sean really attracts. It's really nice working with him in that way because he's so multifaceted. He's, as you see in his credits. So he likes to surround himself with people like that. And we always try to do that when we're working with people on the crew and with everybody.
Just sort of like can-do people who are like not like making a call, but just like figuring it out themselves kind of thing.
100% actually. On Red Rocket, all the producers had to wear multiple hats. Nobody was doing one thing. Everybody had something else to do. I was ADing, I was location manager, I was the picture car coordinator. I was like driving the camera car when we were doing like car to car work. I was the post supervisor when we got to post, soup to nuts. And also my producing partner, Samantha Kwan, she was, the makeup person. Obviously we had a prosthetic penis in the movie with Simon Rex, so she was like managing that. There was just like, we were just doing whatever needed to be done, I guess.
I love that so much. I listened to this podcast on Polly Platt and Peter Bogdanovich, and like their early films, she was just like set dressing, hair, makeup, costume, it was just like that thing where it's like, make it the way you want to make it. And the fewer people you have, the better shot you have at achieving that. And so I really do love that notion, and it just feels so hard the more people you hire in a way,
Absolutely. Just trying to get everybody on the same page and working towards the same thing. And I think it's interesting too at times, it depends on the movie. Every movie is different, but at least for the way Sean likes to work, for me being the locations manager and Sean and I basically choosing all of the locations, we just did that by driving around and just running into things. And it was sort of random at times. A lot of the street casting we did, we met those people while we were scouting locations because we were just constantly talking to people and asking about, can we shoot at your house, or trying to get a contact, or, whatever it was. But I feel like there's so much specificity that you get, or so much uniqueness, I should say, that you get when you kind of do it yourself, because we're not like just getting some file pulls from a locations person in the area. And it's like, oh, the last season of this show, or, this, movie shot here's, just recently, it's a great location. It's like, no, we were like, that donut shop, was, no one's ever seen that on camera. And that's sort of like that's what we're seeking. Interesting visual landmarks in a place that very few people have actually seen committed to film.
I just love that you say that because, I would say the feeling that I get out of Sean's films, and I'm a huge fan of them. We recently just did another pod on the Florida Project with Alex Sachs, is it's a vibe. It's like, it's a full encompassing vibe. And I don't know how else to like describe it other than it's like you are fully immersed in whatever place you guys have chosen to shot in. And that feels like attributable a lot to what you're saying. It's like Sean is like scouting every location with you, and like you're talking to the, you know, to the owners and the people who are going to like allow you in. And that just creates such a authenticity, which is not what you get with a lot of material these days, where you're going to like a tax credit state and shooting on a Netflix, you know, whatever soundstage. And so I love it. I love it so much. Okay. So that was the vibe of Red Rocket. I'm just curious, because this isn't about Red Rocket, but I love that movie too. How many crew members did you have on that movie? Because I know it was shot during COVID, right?
Yeah, it was about 12 of us.
Wow. Unbelievable. Okay. So let's cut to ANORA. And what is your first memory of ANORA? Like, how did this come about?
Back to this question. Yes. My first memory, distinct memory was, I guess, about a year before we shot ANORA, I guess in 22 in the winter. Sean and I were in Cape Town, South Africa, shooting a Taco Bell commercial that he was directing. And and we started talking about this project.
Wait, I just have to ask, why were you shooting a Taco Bell commercial in South Africa?
Okay.
Sidebar.
Sean did direct the Taco Bell commercial.
We all have to pay the bills. And I'm sure you made it awesome.
Especially independent filmmakers.
Yes.
So it was fun. South Africa is a great place. You know, it was like we were so supported. We had a great team. We shot with Larry Sher.
Oh, cool. Love that guy.
So it was like, you know, it was fun. You know, it was low stakes, but we were making something really cool. Anyway, I'm not going to say which one it was. I don't know if Sean necessarily wants that out there in the world. But
okay.
I mean, he's
cool.
proud of it for sure. But just in case. But yeah, so we were shooting that, and obviously we were with each other all the time because we were, you know, working together on this thing, and we were away from home. So we were just talking at dinner and lunch and whatever, whenever we had some time, about this next film. And we didn't necessarily even have the title. We didn't know what exactly the story was going to be, but there was just a kernel of an idea. And this whole idea of this kind of home invasion scene, the centerpiece of the film, the centerpiece sequence of the film was sort of percolating. So we were just kind of talking about what that would look like, what that is. We were really trying to come up with a title. Sean really loves coming up with a title as early as possible, because that kind of, you know, gives some kind of theme or some kind of like
shape to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Some kind of direction, you know, to move towards the title. And then once you come up with it, it kind of just, it sticks, you know, it sticks really hard. So that was very important. And there was a few variations on that title that we had, but I think ANORA came up pretty quickly. I don't remember if it was that trip exactly or just after that trip, but I think that name was something that was found very fast.
Did he immediately feel like ANORA was going to be her formal name? Was that a premise that was kind of immediate?
Yeah, I think that was very early as well. ANORA being her name, but, you know, going by Annie, you know, spelled A-N-I in the script. And, you know, if you were to write it, but, you know, that also plays into the character. We didn't necessarily discuss this directly, or at least maybe we did. I just don't remember, but it does play into the character, because obviously she says that she doesn't go by that name. It's, you know, she goes by her nickname. You know, she's kind of like, she's a very Americanized person. So she's not, you know, she's, you know, her family roots back to Russia, but she feels like an American. She is an American. She's not going to use the, you know, her name that her, you know, where for what her heritage is from, you know, which I think plays into the character and, you know, some of the themes of the film.
When you guys were workshopping that home invasion scene, which is such the crux of the action, it feels like a before and after, right? And that scene lands squarely in the middle. Were you guys talking about the sort of multifaceted like tone of that scene, where it was like intense but also intensely funny? Like, was that always the intention, to have like all those layers playing at the same time?
Yeah, we kind of found that section got rewritten so many times. Sean's writing process is, you know, me, my producing partner, Samantha Kwan, you know, who's also Sean's wife. and Sean, we kind of like just talk about ideas, and Sean pitches us things, and then we give feedback and whatever, and it's sort of just like this, everything's just kind of percolating, and we're trying to figure out what the story is, and we'll have a Google Doc where Sean will be writing, and maybe we'll be reading it, maybe I'll be reading it in the room, maybe I'll be at home on the phone and I can see him writing live, which is very nice. Maybe I'll I'll tweak something because he's like going so fast and I'm just trying to keep the format clean, or he misspelled something, it's just kind of like an organic
my God, dude, this
process.
is so cool. Okay. I love that.
It's very fun. I mean, at some point then, it's Sean's job. And like, I'm like, okay, let me know when you have pages, because I'm dealing with probably 1,000 other things in terms of setting up the film. But that's the earliest days is very much that process of, just finding the shape. And we rewrote that scene so many times. It was hard to crack. But I think a lot of the comedy came in just through just talking about it. And I don't know, as we were writing it, I was very conscious of how funny it was becoming. And I think I threw out, at one point, I was like, I think Garnick should get hit in the face and break his nose. I think I was pitching that Annie headbutts him or something like that by accident. But Sean was like, that's great. And then wrote this amazing sequence where he gets kicked in the face and then goes through. Then Sean wanted to up the ante, and then he goes through a glass table. But to me, it was kind of funny to be to set the biggest character, the guy who's always getting hurt, and I don't know. It's a very comedic.
Well, okay. I just have to ask, because I interviewed Kathy Conrad, and she worked with James Mangold forever and ever. And she was like, James loves the Wizard of Oz trope. If you look at a lot of his movies, he's got the Cowardly Lion. He's got the Tin Man, the man without a heart. And it felt to me, and I don't know if this is just it's story instinct or conscious, but it just felt like they were like Dorothy and this ragtag group of guys. And was that ever something you guys discussed, or was it just sort of instinctual?
I think it's more instinctual. I mean, Sean's very interesting because he tells very universal stories, but he tells them in very unique ways about unique people who have never had those stories told about them, which I always think is such a great way to it's kind of, it's a way to reach people, to get people to really invest and see the film. And then also, they get to, maybe they're learning something about people that they've never seen before. They've never really had any real interaction with, or, whether it's sex workers or people living on the margins in motels in Florida, or it's people in the porn industry, whatever it is, I think it's always, I think that's just an instinctual thing for Sean. And we've talked about it. Oh, does this, I think when we were in Vegas shooting ANORA, finishing up those sections, I remember Sean, Samantha, and I had this debate as to whether the story follows the hero's journey. And Sean was like, it doesn't. And I was like, yes, it does. And I was trying to explain why I thought it does. And it does and it doesn't at the same time, but it's not conscious. We're not writing okay, this is, this is the meeting with the mentor, and this is, whatever, the crossing the first threshold. There's no conversations like that. But I think it's just I don't know, Sean's just a natural born storyteller. So I think all that is just inside of him.
But I've heard he's intensely studied, and he knows all those tropes, but he is so unconventional. Is that the case? Did he go to, I actually don't know much about Sean's history, but did he go to film school? He feels from what I've heard, an intense film nerd himself, can reference any movie and just really knows his stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he did go to film school. He went to NYU at Tisch, but he just watched so many films. I mean, anybody, obviously, as you're saying, anybody who knows him knows that, he watches a movie every day, or multiple movies a day. And it's not always the things that, you would think. Sometimes it's films that, few people have heard about, or haven't really gotten their due in some time, old Italian films, or, something that's maybe a little less known. Obviously, when you've seen that many movies, you eventually get to those outer, rings of, or those more, those deeper cuts, I guess you could say. But yeah, so I think that also partly is, a thing that kind of, is in him. He's just seen so much.
Yo, did you pick up milk?
Do you see milk in the fridge?
No.
Then I didn't pick up the fucking milk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Getting engaged can be stressful. Getting the right ring won't be at BlueNile.com. The jewelers at BlueNile.com have sparkle down to a science with beautiful lab-grown diamonds worthy of your most brilliant moments. Their lab-grown diamonds are independently graded and guaranteed identical to natural diamonds and ready to ship to your door. Get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code LISTEN at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com, code LISTEN for $50 off.
Long gone are the days of waiting to be seen in a doctor's office only to have that awkward conversation with your healthcare provider. Wisp gives you access to sexual and reproductive healthcare from the comfort of your home. Get treatment for BV, yeast infections, UTIs, and much more delivered directly to your home or ready for pickup at your local pharmacy in less than 3 hours. The best part? Wisp is discreet, convenient, and you don't need medical insurance to receive care or prescription medication. Visit us today at hellowisp.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hi, hello, what's up?
Hi.
Come in, please.
Place is such an important component to your films. Was Brighton Beach something that you guys had identified, like as you were coming up with this, or was it sort of like you came up with the concept and then found the place?
It started with the place. Karan Karagulian, who plays Toros, he's been in every single one of Sean's films since the very beginning, in sometimes the smallest roles, but he's in there somewhere. Even in Red Rocket, he's just a voice on a phone, but he's still technically in there. He's sort of like Sean's good luck charm, so we had to make sure to keep that tradition going. But this is great because I love to have him back to kind of play a big role because he's such an incredible actor. It's been a minute since Tangerine, so it was exciting to have him be such a big part of this one. But he was the one, I think, 15 years ago, 20 years, some time ago, he said to Sean, we should make a movie about Armenian and Russian community in Brighton Beach.
Wow. Cool.
So we knew that was the thing. And then when this story that I was saying, when we were talking about what this could be back in Cape Town, I remember there, this person being like Russian American was a part of that. And then it just was like, okay, great. That's the perfect place. And I think we had discussed some other, very lightly discussed some other locations per se, just because when we were finding it, but very quickly it was like New York. And of course, Brighton Beach is the place to go if it's about a Russian Armenian.
And during the winter, like that also seemed to be like sort of a critical part to the narrative.
Yeah, it felt like right for the setting and also our timing too. We are independent filmmakers trying to make these movies as soon as we can. So sometimes there's a little bit of an adaptation, that takes place for the season. We might not necessarily want to wait, but I do think that there was something inherent about this movie being set in winter in the same way that Florida Project had to be set in the summer.
Did you guys always know it was going to be about this woman, this sort of like Russian American woman, exotic dancer?
That was also very early. Obviously Sean has made a few films about sex workers. So her being in that profession was something that kind of came with the character very early on. I'm trying to remember exactly when that was decided, but as we started writing the script, I just remember from the very beginning, we were writing that opening sequence of her, meeting with all the different Johns, and seeing her work. That's, Sean really wanted to lean into that whole section as seeing her night, which is a very common thing in his other movies, like in Takeout. In the beginning, we see these long sequences of what it's like to work in a Chinese restaurant in New York. And, we're seeing people make food and, there's just like labor is a big part of Sean's film. So mapping that out was something that we did pretty much immediately. And we kind of got through that section pretty quickly. It's the part that we kind of started to slow down and had to really rework was when the home invasion sequence started. It was just the mechanics of it. that was obviously a lot to work out, and it kept getting worked out. Even when we felt like we got to a good place, there was a ton of rewriting that happened on set.
Why was that the toughest nut to crack?
There's so much action. There's so many like set pieces, in that one sequence. It was also in real time. We really wanted it to feel believable. And Sean's very good about like nothing should feel unearned. If we have a great idea for something, it's, we really have to figure out how do we get there and make it believable. It can't just be, oh, this would be great. This would be so fun if Garnet got kicked through the table. It's like, how do we get to a point where it would realistically be where he would be in a position where he would get kicked through a table? That all sounds obvious, but it takes a long time. It can take a long time to get to a place where that whole thing from start to finish feels like, I believe this is happening in real time. And although crazy things are happening, I believed every second of it. Even Mikey, even Annie being able to hold her own as much as she does, was something that we really had to make sure that she's a scrapper, but we need to make sure that character, who's physically, much inferior to the other guys, would still be able to fight them off.
Kick their ass. Totally. So is that workshopping happening during the script phase, or is it happening on the day, or both?
Well, yeah. So the script took a while to get to a place where we just felt at least comfortable to just move forward, plan, budget, get all the pieces in place. Obviously, the table was, it was, that the sculpture that holds the glass was real, but then we had to get, obviously candy glass, for the actual table itself, and Art had to make those things, and the painting. And so all these elements, where she throws them, and all those elements were worked out in the script. It's just like the sequence where Annie runs around the couch and then gets grabbed by Igor, and then they fall back on the couch. Like, just figuring out the blocking of that and how we were going to do that got worked out. Like, I think I can't remember how it read in the script, but I remember we were walking through it like the weekend before that week's shoot with the two actors, trying to figure out, is she going to like kick herself off the wall? Like, how are they going to fall backwards? Just like more of the detail work was worked out. But then Sean showed up in the morning on one of those days. I think that, when Toros was in the scene, when Karn was there, and he had all new pages. He literally like burst through the door with just like pages just like falling out of his arms, being like, okay, I rewrote the scene. He had told me in the morning, so I was prepared, but
you had a whole hour to prepare for that thing.
Basically. And he told everybody, he said, okay, guys, I made it way simpler. And we're like, all right. And then he started walking through it. And my DP, Drew Daniels, turned to me and said, this is so much more complicated. But, I think we lost almost half a day to blocking it, reblocking it, or at least fine tuning the blocking that had been already worked on, over the weekend. And then also having the actors learn their lines. And then also figure out where the camera's going to go. Cause we had, there was a shot list, but now, Karn's character Toros has to run across to the other side of the room to get the scarf, how are we going to cover that?
Oh, the scarf. Sure. Yeah.
So we had to figure out how to cover some of this new action and this new blocking. So that took about half a day, but we had very little time in that house. We had a good amount of time, but even though we had a decent budget on this, it feels like there's just never enough money for enough time. So
yeah,
we were really cramming a lot, but the thing is that everybody was okay because we figured out getting an extra day in there. And as long as we're making the scene better, then, I'm okay with losing half a day and figuring it out, and Sean rewriting it, everyone knows that that's what we're doing here. We're just trying to make the scene better. So there's no point of sticking to the script if the script could be improved, and the movie could then be better as well.
Do you feel like because Sean is such an innovator and is someone who does really like embrace the moment, that your crew is sort of adjusted to that kind of thing? Like, that's just the way it is. That's the way these movies get made.
Yeah. I kind of got like a baptism in that on Florida Project. Sean was very clear that that's how he likes to work, and that things are going to change. We might pivot to a different scene because the light is really good on that day, or in the case of like the double rainbow that's in the film, that was a real rainbow. We were shooting a whole other scene, and then the whole crew had to change what they were doing and go and move everything and get this rainbow before it disappeared. There was just like, so there was a lot of that. And I was a big proponent of that. It just made sense to me. Even though this was like the first time working with him, and we lost our AD on that movie. So right before the shooting, so we had another AD come in, and he was running the set, but couldn't really do the schedule. So then I knew the script and I knew Sean. So then I was doing a lot of the scheduling and working with the second AD and getting Sean's approval on things on a day-to-day basis. But we did that. We changed things so often that our crew was got very frustrated with Sean. And it was very, at the production meeting, I remember, I have it. I also shot the behind the scenes on Florida. And I remember, and I think I don't know if it's in the actual doc, but I do have the footage of the line producer saying, guys, like, this is going to, be a very different process. Like, you might be scheduled to shoot something this day, but it might completely change. Like, you're going to be prepared with every single costume in the costume department, because we might shoot a different scene that day. And everyone was okay with that. And then as soon as it started happening, everyone was not okay. So because it makes their jobs a lot harder. And I get that. So after that experience, I really learned, what it's like to truly be prepared for everything. And I've worked with other directors like Sean Price Williams, who work in a similar fashion. And on this one, I very much handpicked each of the crew. Every single person that was on the crew on ANORA was someone I'd worked with or my line producer had worked with, and knew that they could work at that capacity and we're going to be okay with it. And of course, in the production meeting, I did the speech again that happened on Florida Project, but really emphasized it, but also emphasized it to the department heads directly, who are my friends in a lot of cases, and we handpicked an incredible team. I mean, it was probably one of the best collection of crew that I've worked with, and Sean felt that way as well. So that was a big part, was just hand selecting the right people.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the first sort of act into that break, narratively, like you knew where you were going. Once Yvonne escapes, did you guys know where you were going right away? It felt like that was like its own journey to figure out like where they were going to look for him, how far you were going to take it. Were you going to bring the parents in? Like, was that always sort of mapped out?
We just knew it was a sequence. And we shot in Brighton Beach, and we lived in Brighton Beach, and the office was in Brighton Beach. So
you guys lived there for a while before you got underway.
We did. Yeah. We were there for a good amount of time, and that's been consistent with all of Sean's films. And that helps us, because when we're shooting these sequences, we have a shorthand. We know the area. Like, we say, oh, tonight we're going to shoot some, searching for Yvonne. Okay. we know we're going to shoot on this street corner, do this. Oh, we don't have enough time to do this other thing. And then Sean's like, Alex, where should we go next? Oh, wait, maybe we should go. Let's go to that other restaurant. Oh, it's right here. Okay, great. Hey guys, we're going to this thing. Where's that? Here, we'll send you the address. It can be like all, because we know the area so well. Or if we're in the car, we're driving, Sean's like, let's hit, this street, because it's gonna, it has the train overpass. Okay, great. All right, guys. And then I'm on the walkie, like telling, people where to go. I'm in the follow vehicle. Sean's in the picture car. We're like coordinating, but it's like, it's very, we know the area by that point. We know the businesses, that happened on Red Rocket as well. It makes it very, very fluid. And the other great thing is that Sean's always trying to do sort of these like tours of these areas, like Florida Project has like the literal tour, which is what we called it when we shot it. Brooklyn's character, Mooney, shows Jancy around the area. And they go to the Twisty Treat, and they go to the orange sculpture, and they walk by the Disney, gift shop. So Sean really loves location, as we keep coming back to. So this was something where we knew we wanted to hit these specific Coney Island mainstays, Brighton Beach mainstays, Tatiana, some of the little restaurants, that video game place. There's just these locations that are so unique. So we would just kind of move around. It was very like kind of off the cuff. We had like some hours scheduled to shoot those, that sequence, and we would just kind of just shoot what we could, and it was a lot of push moving. It's all on Brighton Beach Ave, so we could very easily be shooting at a restaurant.
Were you guys just kind of had like a base camp and then just kind of moved around with like a small crew so you could pick up this and that and not necessarily like shut down a whole restaurant? Or like how much of that is like paid extras and how much are you just capturing slices of life?
It's mostly slices of life. In most cases, we're just kind of on the street. So we can't really control things. And if somebody wants to walk through a shot, we can't necessarily stop them, because maybe if we have a permit, we don't have, full permission. We don't have the police lockup or anything like that. So, and that's a big part of Sean's films. So we do that often because we're trying to get that texture, and we might get that really interesting guy who lives in the area and is just shuffling down the street in the background. And, he's this Russian guy with his great face, and that's a huge part of it. So we were just kind of like rolling up on these businesses, and sometimes like doing candid camera from across the street. Sometimes we'd walk in, our location manager, and ask and say, "Hey, can we shoot?" And they would give us permission, or they would say no, or maybe and sometimes we would have a crew member just kind of walk past just to get, because we needed a little something extra in the frame. I've done so many passes where I pass by close to camera just to get like a feeling that there's like a presence of people around where you can't see me. It's just my shoulder, but just to give like a feeling.
Okay.
So it can be very organic and spontaneous, those sections, because it's in the script. It just says that they search for Yvonne, and then we have to figure out what that is.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Hi there, it's your vagina speaking. I know sometimes I have a hard time getting there when we get down, but OMG cream from Wisp is here to help. The instant arousal makes it easier to, It takes 2 minutes to order online, so let's give it a try. OMG. I literally just went to heaven. I'm gonna try that again. Go tell your friends though, get on Wisp. Order OMG cream online at hellowisp.com. That's hello, WISP.com, and have it delivered for free. Use code OMG for 15% off your first order.
Sean is obviously a filmmaker now that I think people are very keen to support. How hard was it for you to put the movie together? I mean, it wasn't like you were attaching any, valuable cast. It sort of just felt like you were going to make the movie you were going to make.
Well, we're very lucky because we made a movie with Glenn Basner at Film Nation, and he's very supportive of us. We did Red Rocket with him. So when we met up with him around the time that we were coming up with the idea, and we got lunch with him, and Sean pitched the script, and he sort of gave us a number.
Amazing.
And that was very simple. Yeah, it's that. And I think we had some casts in mind, but we knew that it wasn't going to be, a bankable star. We knew it was going to be, a more discovery-based casting. And Glenn knows that from working with us and knowing Sean's work, and also Sean says it. So the expectation is that it'll be people who are a little less known. And that's also part of his calculation as to, how much we can spend on the film. But Sean is so much like the brand on these movies that we can kind of get away with it a little bit more, not having somebody in the cast, because, Sean is known in world cinema.
Talk to me about finding Mikey, because she's so incredible. I mean, she really is, and it's so excellent and embodies the character so perfectly. How hard was that for you guys to find?
Well, I mean, the story goes, Sean saw Scream, the reboot that Mikey was in, and was just like, she's it.
No way.
I think he told Samantha, when they were at the movie, and then he also texted me saying that girl in Scream is perfect. And actually, randomly, I saw it the very same night, just like unbeknownst to each other. I was in New York, he was in LA, so I knew exactly who he was talking about because I'd just seen the film, and that was it. And then, fortunately, she shared a rep, or still shares a rep with Brooklyn Prince. So we already knew Rachel Arlick very well. So it was very easy to just call her up and say, hey, we love your other client, and kind of got the ball rolling.
So did she have to read, or was it just like you guys knew she could do it?
We knew she could do it. Sean and Sam met up with Mikey while they were in LA. I was in New York shooting a movie, and they met up with her. And yeah, instantly they got a great vibe. It seemed like they were very like-minded. The kind of films that she was interested, how serious she is as an actor. Obviously, her body of work speaks for itself in terms of, her professionalism and her experience as a performer. So once Sean met her, there was nothing left to do except just tell her that we were going to write a script for her, and we'll catch her when we shoot it.
I love this notion of just casting who's right rather than casting who's valuable. I feel like Sean has really carved that out for himself, that is the way he makes movies. But how do you go about finding like the most authentic people to embody these like very specific roles?
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Anora, Sean had some ideas for people. Obviously, Karan was, we already knew from the very beginning he was going to play Toros. Mikey was a very early find. And then Igor Uraborsov, we saw in Cannes we saw compartment number 6 in 21 when we were there with Red Rocket. And we were like, this guy's perfect. I remember talking about Yura with Sean when we were in Cape Town, when we were sort of the story was turning over. I remember that was somebody that he said, okay, this is the person that I want to play, Igor. I don't know if he had a name yet, but that character. And then we got Garnick through Karan, actually. He suggested him. Because Garnick's a very well-known, or Vache, I should say, is a very well-known comedian in Armenia. So Karan was very, very familiar with his work. So he suggested him. He was perfect. He read for it. Then in terms of like the smaller roles, like the friends, Ivy was somebody that Sean knew for a while and was really excited to try to work with her. And her, her background, where she's from, very much fit into the film in that world. And then the other kids, we just like make friends with a lot of people in these areas where we shoot. And Samantha, she talked to a lot of those people that we knew who lived in the area, and asked their friends if they knew anybody or if they had any friends who, might be interested in being in the film. And they just sent in tapes to play the kids, like Yvonne's, local friends. So those guys were cast by her just by getting tapes from people who lived in Brighton Beach for the most part.
I have 3 kids, but I have 2 massive teenagers, and it's rare that you can capture the way they actually talk, like the parlance, and like I do it jokingly to them, but those kids, it was just like when they were hanging out and shooting the shit, it was just like that did not feel scripted. It was just like that. Yeah, that's the way kids are talking right now.
And a lot of those scenes, everything is for the most part tightly scripted, but those scenes with the kids, they were, because it's so montagey, and I mentioned when the search for Yvonne, it was sort of like they searched for Yvonne in the script. So in the same way, it was kind of like the kids' party, and we knew they would party in certain places, and we had written down certain like things we wanted them to do or certain things we wanted them to say. But for the most part, they were just goofing around, and they're so good, and Sean's so good at casting, and Sam's found these incredible guys that they just sort of like, even though they'd only done maybe a little bit of acting, they kind of just like slipped into just like being people on camera, and we're very unself-conscious. So we were able to capture that.
I loved it. It felt like kind of verite, and just like you were capturing this moment of these like authentic friends who are, there for varying reasons. And anyways, I was just like, oh, this is a real movie, man.
Yeah. And there's sections that we like to call hose it down when we're shooting those scenes. We did this on Florida a couple times, and in Red Rocket, like the birthday party scene was like a hose it down scene when like in Anora, when the kids first come into the suite, that was like a hose it down. And it's sort of just like, all right, guys, just go. And then Drew is just just shoot it, and just get what he can. And Sean might be behind the camera being like, go do this, go do that. Like, kind of giving them direction. But for the most part, the coverage is just trying to like keep pace with the actors.
So Glenn just was like, this is the value of the film, here's the budget, and you're like, okay, great, we'll back into that, whatever it is, that's going to be the film. How long did you guys how long was your schedule?
I think we started off with about 30 or 35 days, I think 35, and I think we ended up shooting about 43.
Okay. Wow.
We had to add days here or there, as I said, the mansion, a few things, so it got longer.
Were any of those sets built?
Yeah, Sean, I don't know what movie we're making if we're shooting on a set with Sean in a way, because, so much of that texture is, that is so much about his movies, and it's hard to recreate. So we're looking for real locations always, even if it's a little bit difficult to shoot in those places.
Music seems to be like such a hallmark to Sean's films, and the soundtrack to this in particular, I've been listening to on a loop. I love that tune when they get married, and it feels like sincerely like they are truly happy. Like they're like, she believes like her life has changed. It's such a wonderful moment that is like quickly dashed. Does Sean listen to music when he's writing? Does that come after the fact entirely? Like, is there a certain vibe of music he likes himself that he's going to layer onto the films he does?
Yeah, sometimes he'll come up with a song idea. He'll have a track that he definitely wants to incorporate into a scene or a sequence, and he'll, be talking about it. He'll make a playlist or something. There was a movie we were supposed to do in Vancouver that was like there was a playlist that went along with the script, and every single song, every single sequence, like stated what song it was playing. And like, there was like even like moments where he said, the song cuts out at, 1 minute and 15 seconds, like he had it all beat it out. This was a different script though. But in the case of ANORA, I remember obviously talking about a lot of different songs, but nothing in particular that's standing out like as this was something that was sort of leading us. I mean, obviously the first song in every one of his films is always sort of like it's a very distinct, a lot of times poppy song, Celebration, Bye, Bye, Bye. But we had two other songs that we had chosen for that opening shot where, we're seeing all the girls dancing with the guys at the strip club, the Warner dolly shot. But we shot to that, to both of those songs. We weren't sure which one we were going to get, but as we were putting it together, Sean was like not like 100% with what we had chosen, and they were big artists, so we weren't sure how much it was going to end up costing. And so he started thinking about other ideas, and him and Sam were driving around and looking at Spotify, and Sean said something to the effect of like, it's her greatest day, like just something like that, like it should be, it's exciting. It's like this great moment for her. So then Sam literally just like typed that in, like greatest day, into Spotify, and there was a song called Greatest Day, and they played it, and they were like, this is perfect. And they sent it to me all excited.
It was perfect.
I know. And I thought it was maybe a little literal at first. I was like, this is very on the nose. But once Sean dropped it into the cut, it dropped in perfectly. And that was another miracle. And we always talk about following the film gods and these little miracles when we're making these movies, because we can't always have everything we want because we're on tight budgets and tight schedules. So if the world gives us something, then we always try to use it. So this was a song that was definitely going to be easier to license. It was probably going to be cheaper and fit into our budget more easily, and it fit like a glove over a scene that we'd already cut.
It felt like there were a lot of needle drops in that film, more than score. Is that an accurate memory or no?
That's completely correct. Yeah, Sean hasn't really done any score in all of his films. The only score was at the end of Florida Project, when Celebration is sort of in it, is like a string version of that song. But all the other music in his films, and in particular in ANORA, are like, are songs that would be in that space. It's not overlaid. Maybe there's a little variation of that. Obviously, it's fun to play with that sometimes, like in this exhilarating scene, obviously, when they get married in halfway through the film, that song is not part of their world. It's, a montage. But no, having songs that people would be playing in that moment in the location is like the way that Sean scores his film, so and that could be in a lot of different cases. It could be in a club and there's a popular song, or just sort of a club track playing, and that creates some kind of score, or there's the TV on in the background. We did that a lot in Red Rocket. You hear jingles or commercials, and that's creating some kind of a score to kind of fill in, and keep the energy, high in the film. So it's not just quiet.
I love the approach. I wondered if it was like something that you guys have ever discussed, or if it's just been his approach.
It's just his approach. Yeah. It's just how we do it, which, it was very difficult on this one because there's so much music in this that, if you look in the credits, we have like multiple cards of credits for songs. Cause there was, I don't even remember how many it was, but it was like 100 songs. It was insane. And, we really had to be very selective with which ones we chose, and to kind of be, having Tattoo and Daddy AF and Greatest Day, and like some of these songs that are a little more known, we had to be very selective with where those dropped, so that they were at very critical moments, so all the times that Sean dropped in a popular song when Mikey was just wandering around the club, we had to replace that with stuff that was a lot, easier to license and a lot cheaper as well.
I fucking girl, right? I know, girl, and it's fucking insane inside. There's an elevator. Oh my god, fucking elevator. Wait, never seen any. Are my tits off? No, your tits look amazing. Really? Perfect. Wait, are my tits off? No.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
If you wear glasses, you know how hard it is to find the perfect pair. But step into a Warby Parker store, and you'll see it doesn't have to be. Not only will you find a great selection of frames, you'll also meet helpful advisors and friendly optometrists. Yep, many Warby Parker locations also offer eye exams. So the next time you need glasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, or a new prescription, you know where to look. To find a Warby Parker store near you or to book an eye exam, head over to warbyparker.com/retail.
So you get through the shoot, 43 days, obviously, like, he is an incredible filmmaker, demands a lot of himself, demands a lot of the crew. How did the edit go? Do you remember? Was that a smooth process? Did it sort of come together pretty easily?
Well, Sean edits in order, which is an interesting fact.
Oh, wow.
So we don't actually have a full movie until we're basically submitting it to whatever deadline.
And Sean is his own editor.
Sean edits the film. So we barely even watched the film all the way through before we submitted it to Cannes. We're just trying so hard to finish it in time for the submission. But we do watch stuff back while we're cutting. It's just, we're not watching anything that's beyond what we've already cut. So again, and that's just because he's editing in order and not jumping ahead and cutting a scene and then jumping back or anything. So it's not even like we can really jump ahead, cut a very crucial scene, see how that feels, and then jump back to some of the, more lighter sections of the film. So it was a very tough process. Because Sean also cuts and he directs, it's a very hard, to come off of a shoot that's so intense and then jump right into the edit. And we don't have an editor working while we're shooting.
So there's no assembly, there's no assistant editor putting together just like a rough.
No, nobody's doing anything like that. Sean gets into the edit and just starts very slowly, just looking at material, just trying to work up the courage to start cutting after like a couple months after we shot. Because it's always hard, especially for a director, to really start seeing their material, and let alone being the sole person responsible for editing it. So we really have to kind of help him, coax him along. And a lot of that is Samantha and I are with him for the most of the time. I mean, we sit in the room with him a lot. And
like the entire time?
Pretty much. It's either one of us is there or we're both there. And
oh my God. Okay.
Sometimes I'm sleeping because we're editing in the middle of the night because he doesn't like to start until about like 9 p.m. or so in most cases. So we're editing until 4 or 5 in the morning. And mostly I'm working and doing other jobs or doing something else. So it's hard. But, it's not like, but he might, so the process is he'll be editing a scene and then he'll say, oh, like, what do you guys think of this? And then we'll watch it and we'll give notes and then he'll try to fix it. And then maybe I'll fall back asleep,
So it's a slow, protracted process if you're going to go about editing that way, but probably, I mean, it's worked for you guys. So again, it's like, if it ain't broke, keep doing it. So you make the deadline for Cannes. Do you guys have a domestic distributor at that point or no?
A domestic, in this case, we were already with Neon.
So when did you make your deal with Neon? Like before you started shooting?
When we were just finishing. They came in when we were in Vegas shooting like the last few days.
Did that help you guys like get the extra days you needed, or you just decided they were the right partner and they came in at that time with the right offer?
They were familiar with the project before. They knew, they had checked in with Glenn and they knew that Sean was making his next film. So they were sort of surrounding the movie and sort of checking in on how things were going. And then Glenn called us when we were driving out to Vegas and said, I think they really want to make a serious offer. We should let them and let's see what they have. And obviously we'll have to open it up and see, what other people would want to be involved or, because, obviously A24 was our last partner, but ultimately they were the right one for this one.
When you were going to Cannes, I presume you went.
Of course.
Did you have a sense that like this was, I mean, I love all of Sean's movies, but to me, this is like the next, just kind of like progressively keep getting better. Did you have a feeling like this one was really going to make a splash?
We felt that we made a really good movie. We were very excited by what we made. And when we were shooting it, Sean turned to me and said, I think I'm making my best film, which is music to your ears as a producer. So there was a lot of excitement and anticipation for, how we would do at a festival like that. But I don't know, we're very, we try not to get ahead of ourselves.
When he turned to you to say that, do you remember when that moment was? Like sometimes you're on set and you're like, shit, this is good. Like there's just a performance or something that happens. Do you happen to remember that?
Yeah, I remember that's around the time we were in the house, in the mansion, and we were shooting the sequence where Karin is on the phone and everyone's yelling at Karin, like Mikey and Yvonne is yelling at him on the phone when he's driving over, to the mansion to collect Yvonne. And we blocked that scene and then sort of shot it like, capturing everything sort of like a dance, and the energy of it, like it worked in a oneer. And it was so exciting. We shot so many other great stuff before that in that sequence that we were just like, we felt like we were capturing lightning in a bottle. And the performances were, it was just fun to watch them. I guess that was the big thing, is that it was working when I was just watching it live, or just watching like a take where Drew was just making sure to capture everybody, but it wasn't necessarily like what, the shot, their coverage would end up being cut to. So just to see it working at the rawest level, we were like, okay, this is gonna be really special when it's put together.
I have tears in my eyes. I love hearing this so much. Okay. So you get to Cannes, you won the Palme d'Or, like so incredibly significant. That hasn't happened in like 20 years, I don't think.
13, I think, since an American. It was Tree of Life in 2011.
Tell me just any memories.
For me, it was my third time going. I went with Red Rocket, the Sweet East, and then this one. So
not bragging.
I know it sounds like a brag, but truly the reason why I bring that up is because I finally felt like I really had the ropes of the festival. I kind of knew how to move. I knew where to go. I knew the good places to eat. I knew, a lot of the people who would be there. So it just felt like very comfortable, and I was only there the year before with Sweet East. So, it was, I just I had a very strong familiarity with how to get the best out of it and how to get the most out of it. And there was just such an energy. We were in main competition again. People were very excited to see the movie. We were very excited to show the film. So we were just very happy and just enjoying ourselves. And then obviously the stress of the day always comes when you have to actually, premiere the film. But then it got such good reviews and the reactions were so good. And then you had, Letterboxd was like on the Croisette, talking to people and interviewing them, saying, "What's your favorite film? What's your favorite film of the festival?" And people kept saying ANORA. I'm watching on social media, and we're like, "Oh my God, this is like kind of crazy. The buzz is building. The buzz is building." So we were just sort of like along for the ride. And then, of course, it was just very strange to then be going to movies and then sitting down for, a coffee with some of the other team members and be like, okay, so do we have a shot? Like, are we good as that movie? And like really feeling like, no, I think we're better. I think we have a chance here. Like going into it, we never thought we would have those conversations, but by like towards the end of the festival, we felt like, I don't know. I think we're in the running. Which felt very strange.
So how did you guys find out? Like, is there an announcement? Do you go to like an award ceremony? What's the process?
It's very stressful because you don't know until the day of the ceremony. So I woke up very early. I went to The Apprentice, and I saw that movie early in the morning. I had my phone on me, like I was sitting towards the back. Every time it would buzz, I would check it to see if maybe we got a text. Because what we were waiting for was that we're invited to the ceremony. And once you get invited, then you know that you've won something. You just don't know what. So I saw Apprentice, nothing. Then that movie ended. I left the theater and then came directly back into the theater and watched Emilia Perez, all the while like just stressing, hoping we would hear something. The movie ended. We got out. I think a couple of us were in that film, and we were just sort of walking around being like, what do we know? What have we heard? Asking our French distributor, has anybody got called back yet? And we heard, I think Audiard had gotten called back, and I think we heard a couple others, and we were like trying to figure out what that meant. And the fact that we hadn't heard yet, I think we were supposed to find out around noon or something. And I don't think we heard it until about 2:00. So it took a while. It was. And then we heard from our French distributor, she called us, Alice Labadie, her and Jean, we work with very closely over at Le Pacte. And they were like, guess what? We got called back and they want everybody. And they were told that it was for the film. The award was for the film. So we were like, okay, I guess there was only 3, that we would possibly get. Obviously there was one that we wanted in particular. But then there was a big tell, because when we got picked up to get taken over to the Palais from the hotel, we had a big motorcade. And one of the publicists on the ground, the French publicist, was like, I've only ever seen them send this for the Palm winner. So we were like, okay, but just don't stop. We don't know yet. We were like, please, And then when we got into the theater, I was like looking around. I was like, okay, so we're sitting here. Okay, Seat of the Sacred Fig is over there. Audiard's sitting there. I was trying to figure out, if we're here, what does that mean for, the announcement? I would imagine they try to put us somewhere in the middle. We were sitting in the middle. And then the craziest thing is, because you're going to win something, we found out that we won when they announced the Grand Prix, because there's only one award left after that.
Totally. It's like a beauty pageant. Like, because you didn't get the second award. Oh my God. That's so
my heart was pounding when they announced the Grand Prix, just, because that was it. I was like, this is when we find out, this is kind of how, this is the announcement. This is when we're going to know. So it was sort of, there was no stress when they announced the Palm, because we knew it was coming. Of course, like we're so careful to not get ahead of ourselves that we were even like, all right, just announce it just to make sure this is true. But we had to watch 20 minutes of George Lucas's, award, like Lifetime Achievement Award. So we had to sit there for a while and wait. But we were all the while just sort of like looking down the aisle at each other and like giving each other eyes. Just kind of like, trying to like high five, but quietly.
Oh, that is so amazing. I love that story so much. Well, Alex, I am so excited for this season for you. It's kind of an interesting year, because no one can really predict, not that you're out here like waiting for awards, but I feel like your movie is so good and just has so much authenticity and heart and humor, and I just love it so much. I can't say enough about it. So I wish you so much luck, and just keep making the movies you're doing. Thank you so much for doing this with me. It was so fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Vanessa, I was just reminded of what an awesome dude Alex Coco is. And I loved hearing about the making of this movie. And, you know, I think Alex Coco was the one who said this movie was made for $6 million. And I really can't believe it. And then it makes me realize how incredible filmmakers like Sean Baker and his team are to like pull such an incredible movie off for that amount of money.
It's insane. Yeah, I was just watching interviews of Mikey Madison talking about like just the nail art that she had to get done every couple of days and like little details like that really do cost a lot of money, and on a big production, it can really bloat the budget. So being able to make a movie like this with so much nuance and detail and do it at that scale is just so impressive.
So impressive. And the other thing about this movie is that there is a quality of wealth that you need to sell. You know, those people need to go on a private plane. They need to live in mansions. They need to have really nice clothes. They need to have furs. And so I was really impressed with their ingenuity and how they pulled that off. And it was such a cool story to hear. You know, so Vanessa, cool. The other thing that I was so pumped about was how many Oscar winners we have now interviewed, particularly in this season. And we made these predictions, but we have an interview with Lowell Crowley coming up for next week, which I'm so excited about. And he just won Best Cinematography for The Brutalist. So that's coming up next week. And then we also, if you recall, had interviewed Paul Tazwell for Best Costume, which he won for Wicked, which was so incredibly awesome. And amazing. Then I'm just like so psyched. We're like in the mix and talking to these brilliant people about their process.
And it all makes sense. I mean, talking to all these people about how these movies have come together, and especially all the people that we interview are making movies that are really special and unique and not things that, you know, we've ever seen before in entertainment. So it's really amazing to see how they even got them off the ground at all, because we know how hard it is to make movies. So to see them getting all these accolades and watching them get their flowers is just so incredible. And I think worth going to previous episodes and re-listening. I re-listened to the Paul Tazwell one. It's so good.
Oh my God. Well, by the way, I was laying in bed as like I'm watching the Best Picture in my jammies with my children. And I was like so proud. And then at the same time, I was like, guys, am I ever going to be up there? And my husband like held my hand. He's like, someday, wife. And I was like, oh my God.
It's like Kieran Culkin's speech where he was like, my wife wants me to have, only will let me have kids if I win.
I missed that because I was on a plane, but I heard about that. So Andrew's telling me, guys, that out of the 10 Best Picture nominees, we had interviewed 7 of the films. They were 7 of our subjects. So
That's
ANORA,
amazing.
A Complete Unknown, Real Pain,
Wicked.
Dune, Wicked, Conclave's coming up, The Brutalist. Dude, we're hitting it. And also, I will just say, loyal listeners, that we don't accept everyone who asks to be on the pod. We have to watch the movie, love the movie, believe the movie has like legacy. So good on us.
Yeah. A lot of discussion goes into this.
It sure does. It sure does.
You know what? We have excellent taste.
Is that a humble brag or just a brag bag?
No, just a full brag.
The last thing I'll say, loyal listeners, Vanessa and I were out in LA last week doing the dance, you know, going to our meetings, trying to get our new projects up and running. And I'm just going to give a shout out to Harrison Water Street's assistant who stopped us and said she listens to us every week. Girl, we love you. That was like the best moment of our whole week. I couldn't believe it.
That was the best moment of our whole week. I think her name is Zoe, by the way.
Oh, so Zoe. Okay. Shout out to Zoe.
That was very cool.
That was so good. I've only told that story 5 or 6 times.
Zoe, you made Daniela's year. So,
all right, guys. Well, we love you so much. Keep listening. A lot of good episodes upcoming. And don't forget to stay gold.
Stay gold, everybody.